In this video, I will share the tips that help me personally become far more effective in War Thunder. My regular viewers know that I spend 99% of my time playing modern vehicles. However, most of these tips can be applied just as well to vehicles from the Second World War. For those who are new to the channel, here is a quick introduction. I have played War Thunder for more than 4,000 hours, and my channel became popular thanks to my map guides and the videos where I showcase strong positions. The first nation I fully progressed in this game was the United States, and as you can see, my statistics on modern vehicles were far from impressive. When I moved on to my second nation, I spent the entire grind using only the T-72 without trying to improve my gameplay at all. But when I started working on my third nation, I decided I had had enough of playing on autopilot and being a free elimination for the enemy. That was the moment I became serious about getting better, and as you can see, my statistics have improved dramatically. In this video, I will share every single tip I wish I had known when I first started playing War Thunder. This guide is divided into several key chapters that, in my opinion, can significantly improve your performance. If you do not have time to watch the entire video, you can use the timestamps in the description to jump straight to the parts you need. When you first launch War Thunder, your #1 priority is to fix the controls because, let's be honest, the default setup looks like it was made by someone who's never played a shooter in their life. From the hangar, pick any tank and enter the test drive. Once you're in, open Controls, type Sniper Mode in the search bar, and bind it to your right mouse button. Next, find Zoom Camera and set it to your left Shift key. By doing this, you turn War Thunder into a much more intuitive shooter, and the basic controls finally start to make sense. Now, when you press the right mouse button, you'll enter Sniper Mode, and when you hold left Shift, you'll zoom in the camera. The next thing you want to bind is your thermal vision. Set it to your middle mouse button. Press the scroll wheel once, thermal vision turns on. Press it again, it turns off. Almost every mouse has side buttons, and personally, I use one of them for range finding, and the other one to reset the distance after I've used the rangefinder. Now let's take a look at the full picture. Left mouse button, that's your fire. Right mouse button, Sniper Mode. Click the scroll wheel, Thermal Vision, and on the side buttons, Rangefinder and Reset Range. These are my personal mouse binds, and they already make a massive difference in how you play. Basically, we're using the same logic as pianists do. Your left hand plays the chords. In our case, that means driving, cruise control, binoculars, and all the secondary stuff. Your right hand plays the melody. That's aiming, shooting, switching thermals, and using the rangefinder, everything that defines your tank's performance in battle. Once you start using proper mouse settings, your effectiveness in War Thunder will instantly go up. There are a few more settings we will need. Open Controls, go to the Common tab, and assign a comfortable key for Set Target for Squad. This key allows you to place the yellow marker, which is one of the most powerful tools in the entire game. I have a separate video dedicated to the yellow marker, and you can watch it if you are interested. But to put it briefly, the yellow marker appears next to the enemy you are aiming at, and your squad mate can see it as well. It also allows you to call in an accurate artillery strike and helps a lot with aiming. For the yellow marker to work, open Options, go to Common Battle Settings, and make sure that Automatically Join Squads is set to Yes. Right below that, you will see Join Already Active Battles. This option must be set to No. Your first vehicle in a match has the greatest impact on your performance. At the start of the battle, you want to reach a key position, begin gathering information as early as possible, and catch the enemy in your firing lines. If you join an already ongoing match, you will either arrive at the important positions too late, or fast enemy vehicles will slip through unnoticed and attack you from unexpected angles. This is why I strongly recommend starting every match from the very beginning instead of joining battles that are already in progress. Now let's talk about the next important topic, graphics settings. Do low graphics settings give you an advantage? Absolutely, they do. At long range, low settings make fences and a lot of small clutter on the map almost transparent. The biggest advantage players get from low graphics is the ability to shoot through thin layers of terrain, like dirt or sand. Plus, with fewer visual effects, explosions, smoke, and all that stuff, you can see the battlefield much more clearly. Overall, low settings give you maybe a 5% boost in performance, and honestly, it's just not worth it. So, set your graphics however you feel comfortable, and if you want to try out my settings, you'll find the link in the description below. We are done with the settings, so let us move on to practical gameplay advice. And I want to start with the most difficult topic of all, map knowledge. When I first started playing War Thunder, I did what most beginners do. I went to YouTube looking for any tips on how to get better. I watched a huge number of videos, and in most of them the creators suggested moving to a new position in every match and playing different capture points. I am going to be absolutely strict here. I consider this to be one of the worst pieces of advice you can follow, and now I will explain why. War Thunder has an enormous number of maps, and remembering every angle, position, and line of sight requires hundreds or even thousands of matches on each map. My approach to learning maps is completely different. But before I explain it, we need a bit of context. Every War Thunder match follows the same pattern and can be divided into two phases. The first phase is chaos, the moment when everyone slams the W key and rushes straight toward the capture points. The second phase begins once all the players who drive forward without thinking get eliminated, leaving behind the more careful and methodical players. What is the obvious conclusion? The first phase is the perfect opportunity to take a strong position and get kills on players who rush forward without any plan. And that brings me to the main point. If you want to actually start learning the maps in War Thunder, you should find one reliable starting position and begin every match from that exact spot, instead of driving to a different capture point every time like you are rolling dice. You might be thinking, how can I learn the maps if I start every match from the same position? It is a fair question. And the answer is not obvious at all. When you master a single position, at some point you become a literal brick wall for your opponents. You start getting a huge number of kills and the game becomes far more enjoyable. Once you learn a position perfectly, you naturally develop an understanding of where to look, where the enemy will appear, and what they are likely to do. Eventually, the position becomes so easy for you that you get bored, and that is when new skills start to develop. What should you do when the position becomes too easy? Look at your mini-map, check your surroundings, expand your awareness. As a result, you will be able to win an entire flank on your own, or hold it even when you are heavily outnumbered. You will finally have the freedom to watch the mini-map, rotate your camera, stay calm under pressure, and gain something most players do not have: confidence and the understanding that you can consistently get a large number of kills. And only then, once you know you are genuinely playing well, you can start going wherever you want and improvising. In the end, the choice is simple. You can be the player who runs to a different point every match, dies repeatedly, and never truly learns the map. Or you can master one specific position, develop skills that the first player will never have, and steadily turn yourself into a far stronger and more consistent player. Of course, you might be wondering, how do I find a good starting position if I don't know the map at all? There are two ways to approach this. The first way is to use match replays. When I decided to improve my skills in the game, I would play a match, and if one of my teammates got an impressive number of kills, I would watch the replay to see where they went at the start of the match, what they did, and why. After watching a couple dozen replays on the same map, you gain a huge amount of information about how good players behave in battle. You start trying to replicate their actions, and over time, your understanding of the maps and how battles unfold not only improves the strategies you copy from your teammates, but also allows you to create your own. Eventually, you will discover several strategies that perfectly suit your personal playstyle. The second way is even simpler. Just visit my channel and use the strategies I share in my videos. In these videos, I literally explain where to look and how battles usually unfold on each map. You have probably already noticed that I focus almost entirely on kills in a match and completely ignore the objective the developers intended: capturing points. It's simple. Controlling points is not the main goal in the game. I think it's no secret that most matches end with one team pinning the enemy at their spawn and basically spawn camping. Matches where both teams have at least 5 players and the outcome depends on who captures more points are actually quite rare. Personally, I get very demoralized when someone tells me their strategy is to take the fastest tank, rush a capture point, and try to fight and deal damage. I prefer a different approach. First, eliminate all the enemies who are just driving forward, win the positional battle, push the front line forward, and leave the point capture to my teammates who are just leaving the spawn. I only focus on capturing points in critical situations. For example, when my team is running out of tickets, or when I realize that nobody else will be able to take the point. In all other cases, I try to deal as much damage as possible and push the front line as far away from our spawn as I can. In most matches, the team that controls the most space on the map wins, not the one that captured a point in the first few seconds. Now I want to talk a little about shooting skills. The truth is, there's no secret here. The more you play, the better you shoot. However, there's one important thing we need to talk about. Laser rangefinders are a trap. You should really practice shooting without them. Of course, I'm not talking about long-range engagements. At those distances, a rangefinder is absolutely necessary. What I mean is that using it before every single shot is a bad habit. Some players have turned their laser rangefinder into a reflex. They literally refuse to fire until they press that button. First, I ran into this problem myself as soon as I started playing modern vehicles. I used the rangefinder at every distance, and I kept losing duels to players who could shoot without it. In the end, I had to unbind the rangefinder completely and force myself to play without it for almost 2 months. Eventually, I learned to shoot confidently without using it, and now I only turn it on when I'm not 100% sure I can hit the target. Now I want to talk about what kind of playstyle a new War Thunder player should choose. War Thunder players can be divided into 4 main playstyles: positional players, brawlers who fight in the center of the map, flankers, and aggressive rush players. When it comes to positional play, we've already talked about it a lot, and I genuinely believe this is the most effective approach for most beginners and for players who don't consider themselves highly skilled. Careful gameplay and committing to a single direction will eventually teach you the key fundamentals of the game. And overall, playing from a position is far more enjoyable than driving around the map, dying over and over again, and having no game plan whatsoever. Just to be clear, when I talk about positional play, I mean this. In the first phase of the match, you take up a position, pick off the players who simply drive forward, and in the second phase, you start pushing. If you sit near your spawn until the very end of the match, that's camping. And even though I have a whole series about camping spots on my channel, I feel the same way you do. I really dislike players who sit on their spawn and wait for the enemy to come to them. The second playstyle is brawling in the center of the map. To be completely honest with you, I think this is one of the most entertaining ways to play the game. However, it comes with one major problem. Every beginner absolutely loves endless brawls in the middle of the map, and because of that, just a couple of players who decide to flank can easily cut off the reinforcements coming from your spawn, and once that happens, the entire match is practically over for your team. In my opinion, this playstyle is a very poor choice for new players, because aside from learning how to duel, you gain almost nothing from fighting in the center. I also need to point out that armor plays a huge role in winning these mid-map engagements. If we're talking about pure brawling in the central area, a beginner's effectiveness will be extremely low, and that's why I would never recommend this playstyle to anyone who's just starting out. The third playstyle is flanking. Flanking in War Thunder is extremely effective, and even a beginner can pull it off. This playstyle has a huge advantage. You essentially bypass most of the map and reach a position where you can either deal damage to players fighting in the center, destroy opponents coming out of their spawn, reducing the pressure on your team, or start doing the dirtiest thing you can do in War Thunder, spawn camping. On paper, it all sounds incredibly simple, but in reality, it's much more complex. First, when you're playing the flank, there's always a chance you'll run into an enemy flanker, and you'll have to win a duel. Second, on most maps, it's not enough to just drive around the side. You need to understand where you can be intercepted. And third, you must know your final position. the spot you're trying to reach that will actually allow you to pressure the enemy team effectively. Flanking has one significant advantage. Your job isn't just to reach the enemy's side and deal damage. You're also responsible for stopping the enemy flankers, and that's incredibly important work that can heavily influence the outcome of the match. Will anyone thank you for a successful flank? Of course not. To both the enemy team and your teammates, you'll be that rat who got a bunch of kills by going around and using strategy instead of fighting face-to-face. And the last playstyle I want to talk about is aggressive play. When I say aggressive play, I mean using very specific vehicles whose main strength is speed. In most cases, to play truly aggressively, you need to know precise routes and also rely a bit on luck. Many beginners confuse aggressive play with simply driving forward without thinking. They believe that rushing head-on into 3 enemies is being aggressive, but that's not what this playstyle is about at all. Real aggressive play is about eliminating a significant number of opponents in the shortest amount of time. This playstyle is almost completely inaccessible to beginners. To be even somewhat effective while playing aggressively, you need an extremely good understanding of the maps and a very strong sense of what the enemy will do and where they're going to be. Aggressive play has one amazing advantage. It always looks incredibly impressive. Just look at it. Honestly, I believe every player should try all the different playstyles and find the one they enjoy. Even better, master them all and switch between playstyles depending on your mood. I don't think there are any right or wrong playstyles in this game. Some people enjoy flanking, while others like diving into the crowd and having fun. No one has the right to dictate how you're supposed to play, and that brings us to the next chapter we need to talk about: your teammates. During all the time I've spent in this game, I've heard every possible expression used for teammates. Some people call them enemies, just in blue. Others are convinced that most guys on their team must have a boyfriend. And some believe their teammates are direct descendants of Imperial stormtroopers who went through 9 Star Wars episodes without landing a single proper shot. I completely disagree with that, and I believe teammates deserve respect. After all, nobody logs into the game just to intentionally lose matches. Here's a totally cheaty piece of advice that will help you not only in War Thunder, but in life too. When someone does something wrong, or doesn't do what you think is right, just remember, there was a time when even you had to be taught how to use a spoon. Guys, today my channel celebrates its first anniversary. Exactly 1 year ago, the very first episode of Toxic Positions went live. In the first 24 hours, that video got 125 views, and for me, that was pure happiness. At that moment, I couldn't even imagine that just a year later, this channel would be close to 20,000 subscribers, and my videos would be getting thousands, and sometimes tens of thousands of views. Making videos for you guys is the best job in the world. A couple of weeks ago, I made a community post where anyone could ask a question about the game, and today I'd like to answer some of them in this video. But before we continue, I want to say that I'm deeply grateful for all your support and for the kind words you leave in the comments. Thank you for helping this channel grow and move forward. And of course, a huge shout out to all the channel members for their donations. I truly appreciate it. Thank you all so much. So, the first incredibly important question, one I never really thought about, is how not to burn out in War Thunder. The short answer is, you can't. I don't know a single person who has played War Thunder for a long time and never felt the urge to uninstall the game and never come back. I have a theory that Gaijin intentionally creates uncomfortable conditions for players to make the game more profitable, and I mean several things at once. For example, there are a huge number of players, especially beginners, who genuinely believe that premium vehicles are unkillable. There are even stories online claiming that premium vehicles take less damage than regular tech tree vehicles. And when someone constantly lives with those thoughts, sooner or later they start thinking about spending money on the game. The second example is the matchmaking experience. You can play 10 matches in a row with a tank at 8.3 and get thrown into battles against 9.3 every single time. This makes players want to rush to 12.7 as fast as possible so they can always play in the most modern and competitive vehicles. And what's the fastest way to get to 12.7? Right, only through spending money. And the third example is the map design. For years we've been stuck with unbalanced, uncomfortable maps, some of which are so huge that a heavy tank spends half the match just driving to the middle. Every time someone gets one of those giant maps, they start thinking about donating money just to get a faster and more modern vehicle. So long story short, I feel like the snail intentionally makes the game uncomfortable, using frustration as a lever to push players towards spending money. Whenever I feel burned out or annoyed by the game, I switch to something completely different, something that has nothing to do with War Thunder. If you feel like the game brings you more frustration than joy, take a break. Unfortunately, I don't know any other way to avoid burnout. The next question I get all the time is about my attitude towards spending money in the game and how much I've personally spent. For context, I should remind you that I'm not affiliated with Gaijin in any way. They don't pay me to promote premium vehicles, and I don't receive any support from them in the form of vehicles or Golden Eagles. Now back to the actual question. I've played World of Warcraft for many years, so I'm very used to the idea that games cost money. That's why in War Thunder I played maybe the first 10 hours without spending anything, and once I realized I really liked the game, I bought Premium account, and I've been playing with Premium ever since. If we add up everything I've spent, it's roughly $200 in total. I bought 2 Premium tanks at full price, the Soviet T-72 and the American Abrams, and the rest went toward Premium account. But keep in mind, I very quickly found a way to earn Gaijin coins on the marketplace, which I explained in one of my videos. I also almost always completed event vehicles with coupons and sold them on the same marketplace. So if you have patience and motivation, you can get premium vehicles and premium account completely for free. The next question is, what is the worst tank in your opinion? Unfortunately, I haven't played every single tank in the game, so it's hard for me to give a definitive answer. But if we slightly reframe the question and look only at vehicles with a battle rating of 10.0 and above, the tanks I've actually played a lot, then my answer is very clear: all variants of the Soviet T-72. I've played more than 1,500 matches in the premium T-72, and there is literally no other tank in the game that has frustrated me this much. It accelerates slowly, its top speed is low, the vertical turret traverse is only 3.5 degrees per second, the horizontal traverse is just 20 degrees per second, and the cherry on top, it reverses at only 4 kilometers per hour. This tank annoyed me in almost every single match. I started playing it right after finishing the American Ground Tech tree, meaning I went from fast and extremely comfortable vehicles to what felt like a bulldozer that doesn't want to move forward or backward. And honestly, my disappointment was huge. The next question is, what's your favorite tank in the game? That's actually a very easy question for me to answer. It's the Leopard 2A4 at a 10.7 battle rating. I truly believe this is one of the most balanced tanks in the game. It is literally at the perfect spot for its battle rating. It has great mobility, both forward and in reverse, excellent gun depression, and the best traverse speed for both horizontal and vertical aiming that you can expect from a main battle tank. An additional indirect plus is the fact that this tank is available to 4 nations, and 3 of those nations have a premium version of it. This means if you, like me, are grinding ground vehicles using premium tanks, you don't have to adjust to a new vehicle. You can just jump into a familiar tank and enjoy the match. Over more than 2,000 battles in this tank, I can honestly say I have never once encountered a situation where my death on the battlefield was the tank's fault and not my own mistake. Guys, I received a huge number of questions from you, and I sincerely apologize that I can't answer all of them right now. If you want, we can definitely create a separate series where I answer your questions, but if I keep trying to answer them in this video, the video will literally go on forever. Once again, thank you all for watching and for supporting the channel. I truly hope you found something useful in this video. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the battlefield.